This one on this wonderful Saturday morning. It's almost noon and people are hungry, which does not prevent us from talking about product and quotient rules. In the last lecture, we saw that if we have two functions added within the derivative, we take separate derivatives and we add those answers together. For subtraction, we did the exactly same thing. We take separate derivatives and then we subtract the answers. That does not work for product and quotient. If you multiply two functions in a derivative, it is a completely different formula, which you have to learn. So now we are going to say the product rule. If I am differentiating f times g, which is the product of two functions, the formula is f times g prime plus g times f prime. Now all of these are of x. And this is known as the product rule. Some textbooks will have this written in terms of u and v. And some textbooks will have it as f of x and g of x. Now let's take a look at the problem that we can do two different ways to verify that this works and that the other thing does not work, which is if you separate them. So let's go with the derivative of x cubed times x squared minus 1. So I'm going to do this in two different ways. First is obviously I'm going to use the formula. I'm going to define the first function as f and the second one as g, and we are going to take derivatives. So first one says copy f as is. If you take a look at the formula, it just says f, right? So that means Control C, Control V. X cubed. Do they have that on Macs? Control C, Control V? They do? Or is it Command? Is it still C at least? Yeah. Wow, okay. So Command C and then Command what? Command. Impressive. So we are going to copy function f, and then we are going to multiply that by the derivative of g, which is 2x, plus from the formula. Then we are going to copy g times the derivative of f, which is 3x squared. Very good. So now I'm going to decipher what's happening on the other end. So that's f, that's g prime, that's g, and that's f prime. Do we all see how the formula works? Now just realize that if you don't know the formula, you are doomed. There is no way to do this in any other way. Well, this particular problem, yes, but as soon as we start with more serious functions, you're done. So you must memorize this formula. Now we're going to simplify this. We have 2x to the fourth plus 3x to the fourth minus 3x squared for overall answer of 5x to the fourth minus 3x squared. Do we all agree on this? Are we good? Oh, thank you. It means a lot. Now I can check this because these functions are lined up nicely. I can actually use algebra first and distribute before I take the derivative. Right? I can multiply the two functions there and then take derivative of that. If I don't get the same thing, then we just broke mathematics and we don't have to worry about anything else. So this one foiled is going to give me x to the 5 minus x cubed. What's the derivative of that? You see that? It's not magic, it's mathematics. Now the garbage I'm going to write now is going to be only available on the board because I don't want to convolute and pollute the lesson over there. Now look, if you take the derivative separately, you're just going to get garbage. You see, the derivative of this thing is going to be 3x squared, and the derivative of the other one is 2x, and if you multiply them together, you get 6x cubed. Has nothing to do with the actual answers. You see that? So do not take separate derivatives and multiply answers. It doesn't work, which is the reason why we have product rule formula. When you can cheat, right? If you are able to distribute and take the derivative of that, then you're done. Now, obviously, the next example is x squared e to the 3x. So you can't distribute. You are forced to use the formula. Find the derivative of x squared times e to the 3x. So now you are forced to use the product rule formula.
I was explaining to him what was going on. Almost now, so I'm just not the other way. It is, he does 3x, he said it. Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. Well, oh no, it's not like we go out anyway. It's more like as opposed to I just don't want to. But it comes with like you only replace the braces. Actually, pretty much like stickers. Yeah, no razor. I got mine erased. Don't worry about the other ones. Don't worry about the other ones. Pretty hard. One class is don't
taking a sum is calculated. But it doesn't have to flip either. So, definitely not in a sum. Done. It's right here. Yeah. You don't know the power of there's no other way to do this problem. I don't worry that. The rest is just subtraction. I'm not talking about it. So remember that yeah. How to assume the knowledge of everything you learn. And that's why in that class that it's like a gateway. You know, stay there. It's like in engineering, Calculus 2 with NGIT, same thing. Students, you know, doing like 500 times 2,000. Yeah, that's right. You failed this class twice. You have won a car, man. So don't. Right. Don't. Let's do this together, since you guys are already done. Copy the first function x squared. The derivative of the second one is 3e to the 3x. We know that from the previous lesson. Plus copy the second function as is, which is 3e to the 3x. And then derivative of the first, which is 2x. Now, I asked you to factor when you can. This is one. We could have factored in a previous problem as well. This is the one where it's very important to factor. So if you take a look, there is this xe to the 3x common. The first one has 3x left behind, and the second one has 2 left behind. Again, the reason for this is you are going to set this equal to 0 and find zeros in chapter 4. So the sooner you get used to factoring and doing these things, the better off you are. Here's your f, here's your g prime, here's your g, here's your f prime for the function. That's the first half of the lecture, learning the product rule. Second half is learning the quotient rule. Do a few examples, and then the next section. Next Saturday after the test. Hold on. See pitchforks and knives rising. Should be here. All right. The derivative of f divided by g, again, functions, in respect to x, is g times f prime minus f times g prime divided by g squared. Are we all agreeing on this? Great. Let's use it for x squared minus 1 divided by e to the 2x. Do we all agree? Can we all decode from what's written there? Gf prime minus fg prime divided by g squared. Apparently there is a song that you can sing that, but find it on YouTube somewhere. Type in quotient rule song to remember it. So those are the two rules. If you memorize the formulas and you know what plugs in where, you'll be good to go. If you know that the derivative of a constant is 0 and derivative of the polynomial is n minus x to the n minus 1, derivative e to the x is itself, and so on, you should be good. Can I make this hard? No. If you know the formulas, no, I can't. Can I make it annoying? And in the honor of that, the last example for today, because we can. Find the derivative of x squared plus 1 in parentheses times e to the 5x divided by s cubed minus 7x plus 1. So what's happening with this example? Yes? Uh-huh. So you can... Nice! Yeah, we have to use the product rule inside of the quotient rule. This is how you make things annoying. You know the product rule, you know the quotient rule, you know those are the formulas that you can perform. But this question here is the combination of the two rules. There is the multiplication of two functions within the division, which means this here is a quotient rule with a product rule embedded inside. So now you copy the bottom, right, for g, and then f prime, the whole f prime thing is now product rule here, minus the rest of the formula, divided by g squared. Error. Error. As I said, not hard, but annoying as hell. Yeah. Which is the reason why 2% of students take calculus 1. And the rest do not. You chose to be the part of this wonderful learning community. Switching to history major. Talk to certain students more year after another four-year degree and the $40,000 loan are back in your community. Why is that? I know, people. I don't know. So sometimes it's just unfortunate things happen. 5 years ago, there was an author who finished the degree, right? She was working. She had Every day. Every day. One thing. I know. It gets worse. Shall we talk about this? 1 second. I'm sorry I mentioned it. I'll go on another patrol. All right, let's take a look at this wonderful mess together. So we're going to have a product embedded in a quotient. So I'm just going to write the quotient formula on the side and denote the product rule in red, which will be the red piece when I start writing. So the formula for quotient is G. There's G squared, there is the minus, and there is F G prime, and I'm going to put red F prime because that's where the product is. Right? If this is F and this is G, you see that F has the product rule in it. So now, what is this equal to? Division line. And we start. Copy G as is, which is x cubed minus 7x plus 1. And now we need the product rule for the top. The product rule is copy the first one. Copy the first one, which is x squared plus 1, times the derivative of the second, which is 5e to the 5x, plus copy the second, which is e to the 5x, times the derivative of the first one, which is 2x, and then the product rule is done, which is your f prime. We are continuing now with the quotient formula, which is the minus. Copy f as is, which is x squared plus 1 times e to the 5x, and then times the derivative of the denominator, which is g, which is 3x squared minus 7. Everything divided by g squared. Cool? Now, we simplify it. And the only thing that I'm going to do now is to kick out e to the 5x because it is in every term. How many terms do you actually have? Well, think about it. This one will actually distribute, so it's only 2 red terms, and then this is also all 1 term, so you actually have only 3 terms, which will turn into 70 terms if you FOIL everything. So I'm going to kick out e to the 5x, and then what's left is x cubed minus 7x plus 1 times x squared plus 2x plus 1 minus x squared plus 1 times 3x squared minus 7. And now you could FOIL all of this and stuff, but yeah. The primary concern over here was for me to point out that there's the product rule embedded in a quotient rule. Now remember, if you want to set this equal to 0, you will still have to factor this further as far as possible, and you would have to FOIL everything and then hopefully factor it. Look at it. What would you say if I told you that there is a technique to differentiate this and get the factored answer just by looking at it without writing anything down? We'll eventually get there. It's a footnote of one of the sections we're going to do. The most powerful way to take derivatives. It will depend on certain precalculus knowledge, but with that one, you would be able to take this derivative mentally, and any derivative mentally. I know it sounds like impossible, but it's not. And I always have in the classroom a designated derivative taker, because that person realized how powerful and how cool that is and spent some time practicing it. So no matter what's written down, you can take derivative like this and give the answer in a factor form. So that will be done sometimes later in the course, in a few weeks. But I hope that at least someone will find the value in it. So actually, if you guys did this derivative this way and you FOILed everything, and then I have no clue that the derivative is going to work this way. I know actually what the derivative of this is in a factored form, because I know how to do that. It will be available to you, and then it's not a major learning outcome of the course. So if you learn it, right, you can go amaze/annoy people in Calc2 later on. If you don't learn it, no harm done, because you can always crank this, right? So we'll talk about it when the time is right. So today's lessons were all related to derivative. The rest of the chapter will, chapter 3. Next Saturday we're going to have the exam on the first thing in. I'm not going to change the exam. Exam is printed. It's on my desk right now because, right, what can I do? We will start with the exam in the morning, and then we will continue chapter 3, sections, 3.6? No, 3.5 is next. So 3.5, 3.6, 3.7, maybe we get to finish 3 sections after the exam. Exam is hour and 20 minutes. So practice these skills more. We agreed to have some of the homework to open up again. We agreed to have the quizzes reopen again. So starting tomorrow morning, the quizzes will resume. Let me just Close the screen because we don't need this stuff on the stream.